As a kid, I would write short stories when I was in elementary school. I would write poetry, and I started out as a poet. I started out as a story writer. My mother used to make me read the dictionary as a kid growing up, so my vocabulary was always, you know, expanding and a lot larger than a lot of my other peers my age. I was always a fan of music, always loved, you know, everything that had to do with words. And I remember watching the Groove Shack on the cable access channel. And I remember asking my mom if she would take me down there, if I could go down there, because I was like 12, 13 years old. And she would take me, and I would go down there, and that's when I first met everybody, all the, you know, Megahertz and Funk Friends, and, you know, the Intellect, all of those cats that, you know, from back in the days, all the Pioneers and Spirit and all those cats. And just being around that, you know, knowing that we had something like that in our city, because I always listened to the music. You know, the music was always something that really interests me, just hip-hop music in general, and knowing that we had something that was that deep into the culture here in our city, you know, really interests me. So I would go up there, and that's where I met everybody, and, you know, and then the rest is history, kind of, you know.
Before, I rapped before I produced, and I played the recorder in 6th grade. But I initially was a rapper, and then I realized that wasn't really going to pan out for me. So I sided with the production side of things, because it kind of made more sense. I excelled in it more, and it wasn't as embarrassing for me to do. You know, when I was like 16, 17, and I didn't have any fears of rapping. But once I got to be 18, 19, I was like, this isn't going to work out. So I kind of focused on the production, and I always liked production, so it made more sense. I used to like just find samples in my parents' record collection. I'd just sit there and go through. My dad had a bunch of cassettes. I'd go through like old Duke Ellington albums and just find stuff. And I had a friend who worked at like this drugstore, who was older than me, who was a rapper, and him and his friends would make demos and stuff. He was like 20, I was probably 16, and I'd be like, here, try the sample. I'd give him samples to use, and I would see how that, you know, then the songs would come back made, and I'd be like, oh my god, that's how this works. So that was kind of the starting point of me being into production. Eventually, like, I started making beats with someone else on their equipment, and then eventually I just was like, I gotta get my own equipment, and I got my own sampler, and then from there, all this happened.
Showered in blankets of two-dimensional soothsayers, today's true shapers are stick-figured visionaries. There's a gaping hole in the basket we placed our eggs in. This explains the constant eggshell walking. Whole cities overrun with village idiots and jester jingles. Mammoth misogyny massages the minds of model citizens, while children hold hands and dance in the cycles of history. Lost in limericks of its destruction with jovial denial, we take pride in confusion and find laughter in the misguided, capitalizing on whatever is deemed the most successfully desensitizing. We fight to win popularity contests and lose ourselves in the process.